Hi, everyone. My name's Tom Langen, and this is Something Good, a bite-sized podcast about anything and everything good for goodness sake. Welcome to episode 5, Leftovers. So this one's a little bit silly, maybe. It's not sort of high-minded, but it's something that I think is good and something that I think is important to talk about that people don't talk about that much. At least I don't hear people talk about. And that's the idea of leftovers, leftover food, leftovers from yesterday's dinner, today's lunch, Thanksgiving, the debris left on the battlefield of the holiday table. I think you guys all know what I'm talking about. There's sort of tradition in my family. I think every family does this for any big holiday, any big family meal. We always make vastly more food than we could possibly eat. So there's always a ton of leftovers, and it's become a tradition. My mom reminds us whenever we come to the house for a holiday meal, like on Christmas or Thanksgiving or anything like that, to bring containers to take home leftovers. So, so yeah, there's lots of forms of leftovers, lots of different kinds of foods that can be leftovers. Pretty much anything extra left on your plate at the end of a meal is a leftover. And there's sort of a big problem from my perspective with leftovers, and that is that they're already cooked. So inherently, if you go to reheat leftovers, you're essentially overcooking the food. If it wasn't overcooked to begin with, and I think we all have those experiences, especially with family or holiday meals, of dealing with overcooked food, or dry turkey is a common one on Thanksgiving. The problem is that it's already overcooked. So that's something that's a little bit of a hurdle to get over when it comes to dealing with leftovers, whether it's from a restaurant or from your own table. So you have to get creative with how you deal with leftovers. One of the things that I've done in the past, one of the things I love to do, I'm a big fan of stuffing. My family makes a sausage stuffing on Thanksgiving, and we always make a huge batch. So basically, we stuff the bird, but then also have a tray of, I guess, dressing technically, because it's not inside the bird, so it's not stuffing. We have a tray of dressing that also is served to the table because we all like the stuffing so much. But one of my favorite things to do with leftover stuffing from Thanksgiving is to cut it in slices, kind of thick slices, like an inch and a half thick, and put it in a pan with some butter, crisp it up on both sides, then fry up a couple eggs, over easy, so the yolk's nice and runny, and then eat that for breakfast in the days following Thanksgiving. It's absolutely freaking delicious, and it's a great way to use up leftover dressing that doesn't dry it out. Frying it in that little bit of butter, the fat from the butter actually adds a little bit of moisture back to it, and it gives it that crispy edge. So you get some browning on it, and browning is flavor, as any chef will tell you. Yeah, so it's absolutely freaking delicious with fried eggs. I mean, who doesn't love a good fried egg? If you don't love a good fried egg, I don't think we can be friends. But yeah, fried egg with a runny yolk on some leftover stuffing from Thanksgiving, freaking delicious. The trick is that you have to have stuffing that has enough structure to it that you can cut it in slices, that it's not sort of crumbly. But that's one thing I love to do with leftover stuffing. Another thing that I've done, I did this for the first time a number of years ago. I made chili for Becky and I, and cooked some cornbread, made some cornbread to go along with the chili, because cornbread and chili is a match made in heaven. And what I did, it was just regular cornbread, not cheddar cornbread, not anything complicated in it. It was just straight up cornbread. And then with the leftover cornbread, I took the slices and I browned them in some butter in a pan, kind of in a similar way to when I was a little kid. My mom used to take corn muffins, cut them in half, butter them, and then put them in a pan or put them under the broiler and get them all toasty and brown. So that's kind of where I got the idea from. So I browned the slices of cornbread in a skillet in butter, and then drizzled some honey over the top of it, and served it with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, and it was amazingly delicious. So if you get a little creative with leftovers, there's a lot of things you can do with them. Um, you can literally make cornbread into a dessert. You can make stuffing from Thanksgiving into a breakfast. You can take some roasted vegetables. I did this one like last week. We had some leftover roasted vegetables, and we had cooked off some chicken as well. I think just in the oven. I think it was just roasted in a pan in the oven also. And I just cut it up, put it on top of some greens, and put some dressing on it, and it was a delicious salad. So yeah, so super easy to do, super easy to make use of some leftovers, and something that I absolutely think you should do. So the big question, I guess, is why? I mean, obviously, eating leftovers is a good thing because otherwise you're just throwing it away, and that's one of the big things. I know I'm of a generation that growing up, I was told that I should eat clean, clean off my plate. I grew up in the 80s, clean your plate because there are starving kids. And they would love to have that food, so you should eat it. I don't really get the connection there because it's not like anybody was going to package up that food and send it to the starving kids if I didn't eat it. And or it was going to help them if I did eat it. I don't really get it. Basically, I think it was a way of saying, don't be ungrateful, eat what's on your plate. But growing up that way, I kind of got in the habit of cleaning my plate, whether or not I actually wanted to continue eating. So it actually instilled kind of a bad habit in me, which I have to this day. If there's food in front of me, I will eat it. Even if I'm not hungry, I will just keep eating if it's in front of me. I kind of can't help myself. So I blame it on that. Who knows? Maybe it's not because of that, but because of that experience as a child. But yeah. So what it comes down to is, I think there's a big reason. Waste is a big reason that you should use leftovers, and that why using leftovers is good. I looked up some statistics for this. So in the US, we waste $160 billion worth of food every year. $160 billion worth of food goes to waste in this country every single year. And so maybe a way to make a small dent in that in each of our lives is to be a little bit better about leftovers, about not throwing things away just because they're left over at the end of a meal. Also, leftovers can save you a trip to the store. If you get creative about combining leftovers, about making new meals out of leftovers, out of old meals, it can save you a trip to the grocery store. And grocery stores can be kind of an experience these days. The lines can be long. Things can be difficult to find. I've had the experience that I've gone into a grocery store with an idea in my head of something I wanted to make and found very quickly that thing was not available, or the ingredients I needed to make that thing were not available. And so I had to rethink everything. So grocery stores can be kind of a waste of time, a bad experience. I don't want to sort of dog grocery stores because obviously you need them. But if you can skip a trip, why not? Right. So you can save yourself a trip to the grocery store. So that's another reason why leftovers are good. Like I said before, getting creative about the way you deal with leftovers, how you use leftovers, how you convert them into a new meal is a good thing. I think any creative pursuit is a good thing. Anytime you can sort of flex your creative muscles, think creatively, think differently about things, think outside the box, that's always a good thing. And so anything that pushes you in those directions, I think is good. And yeah, leftovers can definitely do that for you. So leftovers actually breed creativity. Oddly enough, who would think that bringing home some fries from a restaurant could actually make you a more creative person? But I think they can. And again, getting back to sort of my habit from when I was a kid, it can save you from overeating. If you know the food isn't going to go to waste, if you know you're going to do something with it tomorrow, If you know you're going to repurpose it into another meal, then you can save yourself from overeating at dinner tonight if you know that you can make lunch out of those leftovers tomorrow. It works for me. It's a little trick that I use to kind of get myself over that mental hurdle of eating leftovers or eating food just because it's on my plate. So what should you do? I think you should eat your leftovers. Take those fries home from the restaurant and make something delicious. Because at the end of the day, wasting less and delicious food are both something good. Thanks again for listening. My name's Tom Langen. This is Something Good, the bite-sized podcast about anything and everything good for goodness sake. If you like the podcast, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Rate us on iTunes. And let me know if you have any ideas for something you think is good that you'd like me to talk about on the show. Send me a message, leave a comment, let me know, and I will definitely look into it because I know I'm going to run short on topics at some point. So anyway, once again, I'm Tom Langen. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you soon.